Would you like people to pay you the ultimate compliment? What is that compliment? He's a closer. Please relax, everybody. Closing is just another of the rites of passage that you experience in your lifetime. And you're going to say to yourself afterwards, that wasn't so hard. Why was I so fearful? What do you say, future closers? Eli's dad here with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. Today is the day that we eliminate fear and turn it into excitement. Yes, excitement. Why? Because when you have the skills to close, convince, and persuade, you will be pumped up at game time like Michael Jordan for the last shot, like Tom Brady with the first possession of the ball in overtime at the Superbowl, like Casanova at the casbah, like Rambo fighting against 10 million enemies with only a bow and arrow. You will become David, and your skills will serve as your slingshot to capture Goliath. My goodness, Eli, I'm sweating already. But you shouldn't be because, dramatic pause, you've done this before, and it's natural to you. So gather around, eavesdrop, and listen carefully while I mentor my number one son once again. You know, young man, the first thing we need to do is to be clear on what is meant by the term closing. What it means is completing, finishing, executing the action that allows you to accomplish the desired outcome successfully. To be sure, it is something that causes anxiety in the performer initially. But like many things in life, it's just another rite of passage that you will experience as you mature. As you may recall from our previous lesson, son, there are three things in life that contain the same elements. They are socializing, sports, and sales. They all have an approach, a warm-up, a presentation, and a close. Let's get to it so you can see that you won't be learning a ton of new stuff, but that you will mostly be applying what you already know and already do. Let's begin with socializing. Eli, what are we going to reference as closing in this genre? Well, to quote Sherman from the cartoon Sherman and Mr. Peabody, Sherman, turn the Wayback Machine to the year 1971, when I was a most unskilled up-and-coming Romeo. Boy, was I scared. I had already gone through a few rites of passage already. At the school dance, I actually danced a slow dance. I was actually touching and, gulp, holding a girl for the first time in my arms. Then I saw some of my friends holding the girl very close in their arms. I tried it. There was no objection. I liked it. A lot. Whew! That wasn't so difficult. It was easier than I had envisioned it. Fast forward. Did I have the courage to ask a girl out on a date? What if she said no? Fortunately, that rite of passage was a bit easier. There was a gorgeous cheerleader that liked me, and I liked her. We wore short basketball shorts in those days, so how could she resist? But I digress. I asked her out to go to a basketball tournament where there were 5 consecutive high school basketball games in Boston Garden. She agreed. I told you she liked me. Anyway, taking her home, as I was walking her to her door, there was, drum roll, the moment of truth. I leaned forward, and she didn't back away. I continued on until there was face-to-face contact. I did it. Another rite of passage accomplished. That was easier than I thought. Why was I so fearful? I had closed the sale. Let us turn to the world of sports. Eli, is there any kid that you know that hasn't done the 3, 2, 1 buzzer thing while fantasizing about making the game-winning shot? We all do it. We are all LeBron or Steph or Michael. How about in real life?
Sherman,
Turn the Wayback Machine to the year 1964. This story concerns my Little League baseball career. As a kid, I practically lived at the playground, and my dad, your grandfather, would spend a tremendous amount of time teaching me how to pitch. With his tutelage, I became fairly accurate. Translation, at age 9, I could throw strikes. Well, when I was 9, my first year in Little League, I was frightened to throw the ball hard because I didn't want to hit anybody. I threw the ball over the plate, but not too hard to hurt anybody. I was in the minors and the kids couldn't hit anyway, so I was a good pitcher for that skill level. However, in 1964, when I was 10, I made the majors. The skill level was much higher. If all I threw was that slow stuff, I was sure to be tattooed by the baseballs coming at me in wicked line drives. I didn't want to hit and hurt anybody, but I wanted to succeed more than I was afraid. I pitched at my top speed and gained confidence with each pitch that I didn't hit a batter. I always had it in me to pitch fast. What I was lacking was courage. I was a closer. Another rite of passage overcome. That was easier than I thought. Why was I so fearful? It's time to move along to closing in sales. The most important part of closing in sales, the part that generates the most anxiety for people, is asking for the check. What would have happened if my cheerleader hadn't leaned in to meet my puckered lips? What would have happened if I had hit a batter with my faster than the speed of light fastball? Nothing. Life would have continued to move forward. You know, Eli, you are a natural salesperson, unafraid to ask for the check. We already talked about how we all closed as little kids when we wanted to be changed. And until we made the sale, we kept closing by making our cries louder and more urgent. Think about this, too. Any kid that has ever had a lemonade stand screams, "Ice cold lemonade here, 10 cents a glass." Well, that was in my day before inflation. A smiling neighbor comes up to the stand and says, "Boy, am I thirsty. Got anything to drink?" "How about a glass of ice cold lemonade, Mr. Jones? It's only 10 cents. Mr. Jones agrees. You pour the glass of lemonade, and then what do? You stick out your hand because you expect a dime. "That'll be 10 cents, Mr. Jones." You ask for the check. You expect the check. Mr. Jones agreed with what you were saying. You solved his thirst issue. He would rather part with the 10 cents, excuse me, and enjoy your lemonade than keep the 10 cents. And if you're a smart kid, "Hey, Mr. Jones, do you think Mrs. Jones is thirsty too?" You're trying to get a referral, aren't you? "Boy, you sure are a natural salesperson, Eli. What a salesman," said Mr. Jones. "Hello, Mrs. Smith. Do you need to have your sidewalk shoveled? We sure got a ton of snow. I'll do it for $10. "Hello, Mr. Brown. How'd you like to stay inside the air conditioning while I mow your lawn? Only $20. Is that fair?" Or, back in my day, we would go door knocking and try to get the neighbors to subscribe to our paper route. That's when people would read the newspaper every morning. I remember that Fred Flintstone was my first customer. The point is, my young stud, that there is always anxiety attached to a new venture. That the anticipated anxiety is always more in the mind than it is in actuality. And that not only have you previously gone through several rites of passage in your life already, you've already gone through the sales rite of passage too. And when a neighbor didn't buy your lemonade or your snow shoveling or your lawn mowing services, you lived, you moved on, you survived. And most importantly, you sought out and approached a new prospect, didn't you? Why did you do all these things? Because, Eli, you realized even then that it was a numbers game. You realized that the neighbors would look at your smiling face, remember back to when they were a kid, and buy your product or service. You always lead with your strength, the mug of a helpless child, and with the concept that you could solve some sort of issue for them, be it their thirst, the removal of snow, or the beautification of their lawn. You had credibility because they knew or recognized you from the hood. Your approach was genuine and sincere. Hey, do any of these elements sound familiar? Quick summary. You are a natural salesperson. You've done it before. Will there be some anxiety? Of course. But that anxiety stems from the fact that the action you're taking is new to you and not that it falls under the category of selling. You've been rejected before. You're going to be rejected again. You lived. You'll live in this circumstance as well. When it's all over, when you've made your first presentation, when you've stuck your hand out and asked for your first check, you're going to say to yourself, that wasn't as difficult as I had anticipated. You will change your outlook from anxiety to excitement because you became a problem solver for others. You became a closer, and you got paid for it. Now, if I could show you several nuances and tactics that turn an order taker into a professional, would you join Eli and me for our next session? Without a doubt, right? Once you learn about something from a mentor, there is an unwritten law that you pass that info along to a new mentee. Hoarding knowledge is strictly forbidden by the members of the 5% Club. Can you agree to those terms? Then pass along info about this channel to others that will be helped. See, Eli reminded me to ask for referrals. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon too, so you'll be notified when there is a new video. Once again, I must plead with you to listen to these lessons repeatedly so that you will own them. Repetition means retention. Listening once is merely entertainment. Learning requires conscious effort. Repeated conscious effort. May I suggest listening in the car while you're driving to and fro? That's how I learned and continue to learn. Our thought for the day is the slogan for Project Eli. Raise the bar. Change your mind. Open a take charge account. And because we never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's get out there and take charge. I'm Eli's dad. See you next time.